Hello there. What we thought we'd do today is we thought we'd answer some very basic questions about what it is that we do, what it is that McKenzie Friends are. So we're going to start. I'm going to have some questions fired at me and then I will do my very best to answer them. So here we go. I guess to answer the question, what is a McKenzie friend, we need to go down a little bit of a history lesson. So let's take ourselves back to 1970 and let's meet Levine McKenzie. Levine McKenzie is petitioning for his divorce and he's got legal aid. So it's being paid for. But before he gets to court, in order to be able to fight his battle, his divorce battle, the legal aid is withdrawn. And unfortunately, he can't afford his legal representation anymore. He can't afford to pay for them himself. And so he goes to his solicitors, who at the time were called Jeffrey Gordon and Co. And he said, I can't afford this. And so I need to try and do this on my own as a litigant in person, which he was entitled to do. So what that means is he goes into court and he represents himself. Just prior to the court case taking place, Jeffrey Gordon, the lead partner at Jeffrey Gordon and Co., becomes concerned that Mr. McKenzie is going to be quite exposed in court on his own. And so he sends the case notes over to a friend of his called Ian Hanger. Ian Hanger is a barrister in his own right, but he's qualified in Australia, which means his qualifications don't stand up at the time here in the United Kingdom. So Mr. Hanger goes to court with Mr. McKenzie as his assistant. He sits next to Mr. McKenzie with the intention of guiding him quietly and helping him out when it comes to cross-examination questions and taking notes on his behalf and just giving him a bit of support. The judge at that case asks Mr. Hanger who he is and what he is. He advises that he intends to assist Mr. McKenzie in today's case, and the judge decides that he can't do that. He says to Mr. Hanger that if you're going to be passing on guidance and some advice and some support, you can do that during the adjournments, but during the actual hearing, you will go and sit in the public gallery. And so there was absolutely no value in Mr. Hanger being there. He didn't bother coming back for day 2 of the trial because there was no point. Mr. McKenzie lost. Mr. McKenzie appealed. He went to the Court of Appeal and said he had been denied representation, which was his legal right. And the Court of Appeal agreed with him. And they told him that he was entitled to be supported in the court by somebody who isn't legally qualified, but is there to provide you with some support and advice when you need it. The case was run again, the hearing was run again, and Mr. McKenzie won. And from that was born McKenzie's friend. The person whose role there is to support a litigant in person in court in order to try and provide an alternative to formal legal representation where they can't afford formal legal representation or they don't want it for whatever reason that might be. So that's kind of what a McKenzie friend is. That is what a McKenzie friend is. And that's what we do here at McKenzie Picave and have been doing for a while now. So we're supporting people. We are the Ian Hanger of our day. We're that non-practicing Australian barrister that's going to sit alongside you and just give you some support, be that emotional or a little bit of legal guidance from our experience. Outside of court, a McKenzie friend differs very little really from a solicitor. A solicitor will often take the lead in your case. A solicitor will often write out your position statements for you, often taking no instruction from you, often not conferring with you because they're writing out what they believe is in your best interests. What we do as a McKenzie friend is we support you in exactly the same way. We work with you on statements that you need to submit, submissions you need to make to the court. We work in the same way. We work on the basis that we have legal experience, and if I liken that specifically to McKenzie Picave, you know, we have quite knowledgeable experience of what happens once in court and of the various issues that revolve around a case. And so outside of court, there's not a huge amount of practical difference between ourselves and solicitors. I think the one difference that I think is quite key, the one difference that certainly gets referenced to us time and time and time again, is that people say we are more supportive, emotionally supportive than a solicitor. And maybe that's a symptom of time. Maybe we afford our clients a little bit more time because we work on a slightly different premise than a solicitor does. I appreciate the fact that the legal profession is under massive pressure at the moment with caseload. And I appreciate the fact that means a solicitor has to work their way through their pile of cases, and they can't afford perhaps as much time as they would like to their clients. We have a massive caseload, let's not kid ourselves, but we ensure that built into the recipe that we use with all of our clients is there's time. There's time for us to afford them conversation. There's time for us to afford them just a little bit of space in order to support them as much emotionally as we do with our technical knowledge of what's going to happen in and around their legal case. So the difference, I guess, if there's a difference between ourselves and solicitors, then the difference is one that we perhaps demonstrate a touch more sensitivity and a touch more emotional support with our client because we afford that time. The difference, I think the key difference really between a McKenzie friend and a solicitor or barrister, whoever it is representing the other side in court, I think the key difference is there are some technical limitations on what it is that we can do. If you get hold of the practice guidance notes that are issued by the court, they were issued in 2010, which describe quite clearly what a McKenzie friend can and can't do. At face value, those practice guidance notes seem to indicate that a McKenzie friend can do very little. They seem to indicate that a McKenzie friend is handcuffed once in court and really restricted on what it is that they can do in order to support you. The interpretation is not quite as restrictive as the guidance notes suggest. In my time in court, which has been many occasions, we work very closely with the legal representation from the other side in order to shape as good and as fair an outcome for everybody concerned as we possibly can. We're delighted that the legal representation from the other side, be that the barrister or counsel, or be that the solicitors, we're delighted that on 99% of the time they're happy to work with us because they understand that our role is to facilitate the process just as much as theirs. And so we can't stand up in court and speak on your behalf as a counsel would, as a barrister would. We can't do that unless the court affords us special permission, which is called a rights of audience. So unless the court affords us permission to do that, which they will do on occasions where they believe it's in the best interest of the matter, if they believe that the client that we're representing perhaps is vulnerable or perhaps is quite emotional about the process and so is not in any position to best represent themselves. And in that case, we have had many occasions where we have spoken on behalf of our client and worked with counsel in order to achieve what we believe is the most sensible and fairest outcome. At McKenzie Picave, we have a strap line really, where we say we stand in no man's land between other McKenzie friends and between the legal profession, because the world of McKenzie friend can really be like the Wild West. It's quite unregulated, and so there is a mix of quality, and we're very honest about that. There's a mix of quality about what you're going to get from a McKenzie friend. In terms of legal profession, there's a mix there too. But at least there's a barrier. There's an entry barrier in order to get into the legal profession, because obviously there's a series of exams that they pass in order to achieve the title that they work with. McKenzie friend often have no legal experience, and that's concerning for us because we pride ourselves on having very in-depth legal knowledge, both in terms of how the court runs, but also in terms of how it is that your case is going to run out, and how it is that the issues around your case are going to evolve and develop, and what it is that we can do in order to tackle those for you. So in terms of that strapline that I mentioned, we have a strapline that says we're a premium brand, but with budget value for money, and hopefully that's what we are. I believe we provide as supportive a role, if not more so, than a solicitor would. We have sufficient legal knowledge and access to legal resource in order to be able to give you premium advice, in order to be able to assist you in your matter with as much competence as a solicitor would. The difference is that when you walk into the supermarket and you look at the premium brands, sometimes you just can't afford them. Sometimes you need to look at the budget brands in order to achieve the same aim and put the same food on your plate. And that's us. We have premium brand knowledge, but we have budget brand pricing, because we are firm believers at McKenzie Picave that people, not everybody, can afford legal representation, and so there needs to be another product. There needs to be another service that people can access when they go to court in order that they can feel supported. And in this instance, that service is McKenzie Picave, because we believe, as I've said, we provide a premium brand product, but we provide it as the budget choice. I often get asked the question, why am I not a solicitor? Why did I not to undertake the training to become a barrister? And to be honest, there are occasions where I do think, well, yeah, why didn't I do that? The reality is that it wasn't the path. It wasn't the path that I chose. The reason that I do what I do now, the reason that McKenzie Picave does what it does, is because I have a life experience that means I understand that there are people out there who currently are underrepresented. In the early days, when sensible people might have been exploring a career in the legal profession, I was doing other things. I've worked in a number of industries across the country and indeed around the world. And being in the legal profession was just not something that crossed my mind at that time. Here I am now, a little further down the road, a little longer in the tooth, a little greyer. And now I'm at a place where I believe that somebody needs to be able to offer accessibility to a support product that takes you into family court or takes you into civil court. Somebody needs to offer that. And I'm delighted that it's us. I'm delighted that it's McKenzie Picave. And so the reason that, going back to a conversation I was having earlier, the reason that we offer a premium brand is because I do have a very in-depth understanding of the legal profession. And somewhere along the lines, maybe I missed my way. Somewhere along the lines, maybe I should have turned towards it and become a solicitor or a barrister, but I didn't. It's not now. And so maybe there's a little advantage there for the client that what you're getting is somebody who has the mindset of a solicitor and the mindset of a barrister, but at that budget value price that we talked about. I mean, in terms of how does McKenzie Picave differ from other McKenzie Friends, I think we pride ourselves on, and maybe this is a question we should be asking our clients, but we pride ourselves on our knowledge. We pride ourselves on the fact that we understand the legal process, that we understand how the court operates and how it is that your case, your matter is going to travel through the family court system or indeed through the civil court system. So it's really that technical know-how that is quite key to how we differ from other McKenzie Friends. The other side to our coin, which is perhaps a little softer in terms of its relevance, but we offer it anyway, is that we believe ourselves to be very sensitive. We often get clients time and time again who say to us that they felt, if nothing else, throughout the process, they felt supported by us, emotionally supported by us, and they felt that we had the best interests of them at heart, and we had the best interests of the children at heart. And certainly when we find ourselves in family law working with a child matter, our priority is the children. We accept the fact that we may well be supporting mum or supporting dad, but the outcome that we're looking for, the outcome that we're coaxing our client towards, the outcome that we're coaxing the other side towards, is an outcome that is going to best represent the interests of the children. If you work with McKenzie Picave, and we would welcome anybody who wishes to do that, you will find us sensitive. You will find us emotionally aligned to what is going on, to the upset that you're currently serving. You will find us technically supportive. You will find us legally competent. And it's the bringing together of all of those elements that allow McKenzie Picave to represent currently probably approaching 100 different people and 100 different cases scattered right across the UK, both in civil court and in family court. And we will continue to deliver on that ethic and deliver on that ethos where you as the client are the single most important thing to us, and we will always give you advice that we believe to be in the best interests of the outcome of the matter. And sometimes you may disagree, but hopefully our argument is strong enough that you will appreciate that our argument is based on reason. Our argument is based on a sensitivity and an understanding of what the best outcome is. The reason that McKenzie Picave is fortunate enough to work alongside our counselling business, Daniel Picave Counselling, is because it provides us with that insight. It provides us with that opportunity to understand human nature, to understand human behaviour, and I think that best places us and is able to work with people in well upsetting and sensitive situations. So we look forward to having the opportunity to work with anybody, and if that's maybe something that we can do for you, then we'd love to hear from you. Hello, hope you liked that video. If Daniel Picave Counselling is something that interests you, perhaps you're going to like that video, so why don't you watch that next? If McKenzie Picave, our family law support service, is something that is going to be of some use to you, perhaps you want to watch that video. Or failing that, just get in touch, and we'll see you next time.